Hey guys, John here from Sonic Drive Studio. I hope you're all doing well and welcome back to the channel. My guitar collection has been going through some changes recently, and in this video I'm going to talk about those changes, talk about what I got rid of and why, and also what exciting pieces of gear I got instead. So let's just hang out, talk gear, and look at some awesome instruments, okay? Alright, so as the title of this video suggests, I got rid of all of my Fender guitars. Now that's 3 guitars to be precise. So that's my Stratocaster, my Tele, and my Jim Roots Tele as well. The Strat was my American Special Stratocaster that I bought 10 years ago or so. I think it was a 2013 model. A really pretty guitar in seafoam green, I believe, or surf green, one of the two. Yeah, it was a wonderful Stratocaster with Texas Special pickups and also the old 70s big headstock design. So that was a pretty cool guitar. My Tele, that was my American Performer Fender Telecaster that I got about 6 years ago or so. Another cool guitar, simply a fine specimen of a Tele with a rosewood fretboard and the Yosemite pickups, I believe. I used it in some videos here and there, and I'm sure you've seen it in my videos in the past. And of course, I also sold my Jim Roots Telecaster, the made in Mexico metal version of the Telecaster, that with that white satin finish and the EMG pickups and the ebony fretboard as well. That was a pretty good guitar and pretty cool as well. And even before I got that one, I had another one. I had the black one with the maple fretboard, as well as another one of the white versions, but I got rid of those. I regretted it and then bought the white one instead. So yeah, cool guitars. Obviously, I know that a lot of people like those models, and sure, I like them too. So why did I get rid of those guitars? Well, firstly, let me say that the guitars were absolutely fine. There wasn't anything wrong with the guitars. They looked cool, they played fine, and they sounded good as well. And I did say that they played fine, but I didn't say that they played amazingly well, like some of my other guitars. The Fender necks just tend to be fairly chunky and big, and each time when I picked one of them up, I just felt like I preferred the feel of some of my other guitars, like my LTDs and stuff like that. I just felt that the neck shape just wasn't really working for me. So in terms of feel, I definitely preferred my other guitars. Now the reason why I got my Tele and the Strat in the first place was to have those classic single coil Fender sounds at my disposal for whenever I needed those tones, right? But in reality, I almost never used those tones anyway. I just tend to gravitate towards different tones in general, primarily humbucker tones. So the guitars were basically always waiting for me to pick them up, which almost never happened. And whenever I picked them up, I just really didn't feel inspired to play them. So single coil tones are cool, but just not really my thing in general, I'm afraid. And I don't like to have guitars just for owning them. I want to have instruments in my studio that I actually use to make music with. I don't have to use them every single day, of course, because I have quite a bunch, around 28 or so. But I definitely want to have a guitar that I will use every once in a while. And I want to have guitars that are fun to play, that look cool too, and that are just inspiring to me and that sort of bring something out in me that makes me want to play music or write new riffs. Basically guitars that put a smile to my face. And I think you guys know what I mean. Or guitars that offer something really unique that some of my other guitars don't offer. For example, my 9-string, my Schecter 9-string is very unique, obviously. It's a very interesting guitar, and it has an amount of strings that none of my other guitars do. That's a very extreme example, but just as an example of a guitar that offers something unique. Anyway, because of those reasons, I sold all my Fenders. So the Strat is gone, the Tele is gone, and the Jim Root Tele is gone as well. And I sold them within a couple of weeks, so that was really easy. It surprised me a little bit. But yeah, I sold them to some very kind folks who will appreciate these instruments much more than I did, and they will definitely get played much more often. So that's really nice, and that makes me happy. And of course, all of this opened up some funds for some exciting new instruments. And if you know me, you know what I do in these types of situations when an opportunity like this arises. Of course, I ordered some new guitars, and boy, did I order some cool ones. I'm really excited to show these guitars to you. And for the record, I ordered all of these guitars at Toneman, so this video isn't sponsored in any way. So now I'm going to show you the new guitars, talk a little bit about them, and show them off to you as well. And we're going to start with the most weird and unique one of the bunch. And this is the first one that I ordered, and the order went a little bit weird because the guitar was shipped to me. But then when it arrived at my house, the UPS guy said, sorry, I can't give this to you. It has to be returned to Toneman. So it took quite a while before it got back again because they put some wrong items in the box or something like that. But it's here, and I'm super stoked about this instrument. Of course, I'm talking about the Schecter Hellraiser C6. Woohoo! Check out this instrument. This thing is absolutely nuts and definitely very unique. It's definitely the most unique guitar in the bunch. And to be honest, I have been eyeballing this guitar for quite a while because of its unique features. So this guitar is actually a baritone, but the scale length is very long for a baritone. This guitar has a 30-inch scale, which is quite crazy and quite unique, especially for a 6-string baritone. Now, very often, 6-string baritones, even 7-string baritones, have a scale length of, say, 27 inches. That's sort of the standard. But this is basically the modern or rock and metal version of that classic Fender Bass 6, which is kind of a hybrid between a bass and a guitar. A buddy of mine used to have one, actually, one of those made in Mexico, I believe, sort of Jaguar style baritones. A really unique guitar that was also around 30 inches, if I'm correct, not entirely sure. And with my old band Entwine, we used that guitar quite a bit for some clean and crunchy tones on the last record that we did, Kingdom of Contradiction. And yeah, we really loved the unique tone of that guitar, and we used it quite a bit on that record because of that unique tonal character, basically. But yeah, for high gain stuff, that guitar just wasn't great. The pickups weren't great, single coil pickups, of course. And for really heavy stuff, I prefer humbuckers. So this Schecter is basically the ideal version of that take on a baritone. Now, normally this guitar comes tuned to E standard, but 1 octave below standard E on your normal guitar. And the strings that came on this thing were super, super thick. I believe the thickest string was about a 90 gauge string or so, quite crazy. However, I wanted to tune this thing with slightly thinner strings and tune it a little bit higher than E standard. So I wanted to tune this guitar to drop F sharp with a set of elixirs, a baritone elixir set to be precise, which is what I always use for my standard baritone guitars. And I always replace the 3rd string, so the G string, with a wound 24 as opposed to the plain 22 that the standard set has. Now I have one other guitar that is tuned to F sharp standard, and that's an 8-string. That's my ESP LTD Stephen Carpenter 8-string, the red sparkle one. But I wanted to try F sharp in a dropped tuning because it offers different chord voicings, basically. So it inspires me to play and write different riffs and use different types of chords. But yeah, it's a really cool guitar. It looks pretty cool. It has that classic Hellraiser look that you either love or hate. But for this guitar, I must say that I think it's quite beautiful. It's a quite chunky guitar. It's not light. It has some good weight to it, but I love that, to be honest. It's great for sustain and for the thickness of the tone. But yeah, the frets are really good. The strings fit nicely into the nut, which I was a little bit afraid of because of the wide nut slots. But yeah, we got locking tuners. A very nicely finished guitar with no visible flaws whatsoever. And one thing that surprised me a little bit is the fact that these saddles seem to be made out of brass. So that's pretty interesting. But yeah, beautiful guitar, EMG pickups with push pulls. So I can still get some sort of quirky single coil tones for clean tones out of this guitar. And yeah, it's just a really unique beast that offers some very snarly and cool tones. Yeah! You'll get to hear this guitar in a video on the channel soon enough, so stay tuned for that. And if you guys are interested, I can do a dedicated video, a review, or a demo of this guitar on the channel. So let me know in the comments down below if that's something that you'd like to see. Okay, so that was the Schecter. Now with the next guitars, admittedly, I went a little bit crazy, and the completist in me sometimes takes complete control over my free will. And let's be honest, gas doesn't help either. But as you probably know, if you know this channel, I'm a pretty big ESP LTD fan. I love those guitars and I have many of them. My main favorite models are basically the Phoenix models and also the Eclipse models. I'm just a sucker for a good single cut. And the newest line of Eclipses, the full thickness Eclipses to be precise, were really intriguing to me, and I just love how they looked and the options that they had to offer. So I really wanted to dip my toes into that product line. And the first one that arrived is this guitar. The ESP LTD EC1000T CTM in Violet Shadow. Look at this beautiful, beautiful guitar. It's such a unique looking guitar too. I don't think I've ever owned a blue guitar. I think really this is the first blue guitar that I've ever owned. And yeah, it's a really good guitar. This one was made in Indonesia, by the way. It's not too heavy despite it being full thickness. I do think that these are chambered though. But yeah, it's a really resonant guitar. It has great sustain and it's quite loud acoustically. And it has a lot of bite and mids acoustically as well, which is very cool. And this guitar also plays very nicely. And I think that this guitar has one of the thinnest and fastest LTD necks that I've ever played, especially for an Eclipse. So that was a nice surprise. Feels really interesting to play and very inspiring. But yeah, this blue finish is just stunning. And I also really like the fact that this is a full thickness guitar, which I prefer over the thinner Eclipses. It just reminds me of one of my favorite guitar models ever, the Gibson Les Paul Custom, obviously. And that's where the CTM stands for. It means that there's, I guess, triple binding, or at least multiply binding, and then also binding on the back. But this is a more modern take on a Les Paul Custom, of course, with this sort of nice, sort of smoothed out neck heel going on, locking tuners, ebony fretboard, and these very cool pickups as well, which are the Fishman Fluence Classic open core pickups. And as you can see, these are direct mount pickups, so they do not have pickup rings. And I quite enjoy the aesthetics of that. I think it looks really cool and quite modern. And I must say that these pickups are quite interesting. I haven't played these pickups before, so I was really excited to try these out. And they don't disappoint. They are quite versatile indeed. And they basically sound nothing like the Fishman Fluence modern pickups that I'm primarily used to. So with the default settings, voice 2 I believe, they sound very balanced and very much like passive pickups, kind of like a hot-rodded humbucker. When you pull up the tone control, the voicing changes to voice 1 I believe, which is more of a classic PAF sound with a bit lower output and a bit more brightness. And then when you pull up the volume, the second volume pot over here, the entire guitar turns to a single coil guitar with quite convincing single coil tones. So this is a really versatile guitar because of that. And I mean, it does high gain stuff really well, like metal and rock, but the clean tones are also quite gorgeous. And it also looks like I still have some single coil tones after all, despite the fact that I got rid of my Fenders. So that's pretty cool as well. So great guitar overall, looks great, plays great, sounds great, really nice. I'm really happy with this thing. It does have some very minor cosmetic issues, which sometimes tends to happen with these import guitars, so to speak, but they weren't a big deal to me at all. And I did end up getting a little bit of a discount at Thomann, so that's nice. Okay, now let's go to the second guitar, which surprisingly is quite similar to this one. Let's check it out. So over here we have the ESP LTD EC1000T CTM in vintage gold satin. Look at this beautiful, beautiful guitar. And I was very interested in this one ever since it was announced because it really reminded me of my old ESP1 Eclipse that I used to have and that I used in some early videos on the channel. I really like this sort of vintage, white, vintage gold satin finish. It feels really nice and it also looks beautiful. So another very solid guitar. This one was made in Korea as opposed to the other one. And the overall quality is just great. This guitar is absolutely flawless. So it plays great, it sounds great, and obviously it looks killer. And by the way, if you guys are interested, I am sort of planning on doing a video in which I talk about the differences between the Indonesian and Korean LTD models. If you'd like to see that, let me know in the comments down below. But yeah, another inspiring instrument with a lot of resonance as well, which is always an important aspect of a good guitar to me. If a guitar sounds like a dead plank acoustically, I'm simply not interested. But this guitar definitely feels quite different than the blue one. The neck is a bit thicker, it's a bit more girthy. And obviously the finish feels different too, since this has a satin finish. But yeah, this one also feels great to play. And the overall tone of this guitar is a bit more thick and a bit more full sounding. So the blue one is a bit more bright and spanky, and this one has a bit more body in the low mids and the low end. A great sound as well, just a little bit different. These are different pieces of wood, of course, and maybe the finish also has something to do with that as well. But yeah, just as the other one, we have a mahogany neck with an ebony board, 3-piece mahogany neck, I believe. And I think that these bodies are also 3 pieces mahogany, and I think that they all have a maple cap or maple top as well. But needless to say, I'm very happy with this guitar as well. It's just a wonderful guitar. It looks amazing, plays really well, and sounds awesome too. And of course, these are the same pickups as in the previous one. So these are the Fishman classic open core pickups with the same push-pull options. So that's really cool. And it also makes this guitar very versatile. And of course, this one does have the pickup rings, and this one has golden hardware. So yeah, beautiful, beautiful guitar. Now there's one more, and I haven't told many people about this guitar. I think I felt a little bit ashamed maybe because of the excessiveness. But on the other hand, I did sell 3 guitars. I got some good money for them, so I shouldn't feel ashamed. These instruments are really exciting to me. They are very inspiring, and they just make me happy basically. So yeah, screw it. So I had to get this one as well. This ESP LTD EC1000T in charcoal burst. Look at this insane guitar, and look at how beautiful this amazing top is. Just insane. So another amazing guitar, and also very inspiring. This one, as the blue one, was made in Indonesia, by the way. Very well constructed indeed, and this is definitely the heaviest out of the 3 Eclipses. This is the most chunky. It's a very solid guitar indeed, and the main difference of this one between the others, aside from the finish, is that this is not a CTM model. So this does not have the binding on the back, and this has a single binding going on, so a single ply binding, I guess you call it. So this is kind of more like a Les Paul Standard, and the others, the CTMs, are more like a Les Paul Custom. But yeah, it obviously is very similar to the other ones, especially the blue one. I mean, this top, I can't get enough of it. It looks so amazing. And this charcoal burst finish is also very cool. And one thing that's similar to the blue one, obviously, is the fact that this one also has the direct mount pickups. And again, these cool pickups, the Fishman Fluence classic open core pickups, really nice. Again, with all the push-pull options. So all the versatility tone-wise is here. And again, same strings, so a set of 10s in E flat or drop C sharp, which is the tuning that I prefer for all the guitars with this scale length. So all my standard Eclipses basically, or almost all of them. So yeah, plays great, looks stunning, and sounds great too. So this is another winner, and this guitar is basically flawless. But yeah, it's funny how each one of these 3 Eclipses has its own look, its own feel, and its own sound as well. So even though they are almost the same model, aside from the finishes and minor appointment differences, yeah, they all have their own character. So that's really nice. And I've been enjoying every single one of these. I've only had this one for a day, but yeah, I really love this thing. I also love the fact that this one has the black hardware, which makes it look a bit more modern and a bit more stealthy as well. So yeah, amazing guitar. If you guys want to see dedicated reviews of each of these guitars, let me know in the comments down below and I'll consider it for sure. Okay, so I guess that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this video and me rambling on about these wonderful guitars. And thanks for hanging around. I just preferred this over the standard unboxing videos. I didn't want to do 4 separate unboxing videos. It seemed a little bit boring. So yeah, I wanted to get this all done in one video basically. If you guys have any questions about these guitars, of course, drop them in the comments down below. That's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please drop a like and subscribe down below. as that really helps the channel out. And you can also follow Sonic Drive Studio on Instagram and Facebook. Thank you guys so much and hope to see you soon. Cheers.